So welcome along this afternoon to the Scottish Enterprise Rural Leadership Programme Information event. It says here that it's an inspiring leadership development programme. It really is. I think everybody who's been on the programme, that is the one word that we hear again and again, is that it really inspires people. So we're just going to kind of go through the different elements of the programme for you today. Starting off with the funders and the facilitators. So it's funded by Scottish Enterprise, really good clue in the name, Scottish Enterprise Rural Leadership Programme, but it's also co-funded by Highlands and Islands Enterprise and the South of Scotland Enterprise. The facilitators are SEC Consulting and Advanced Consultancy. So here's our SAC facilitators. All four of us are on the call today, and we're going to do a bit of a tag team, so you'll hear from all of us today. So on the left-hand side, first off, we've got Robert Ramsey. So Robert facilitates the Southwest area. Next up, we've got Siobhan McDonald. She facilitates the Highlands and Islands. Following Siobhan, we've got Craig Bothwell, who facilitates the Southeast region. And then obviously last but not least, on the right hand side there is myself, Kirsten Williams, and I facilitate the Northeast area. We've also got Advanced Consulting, and we've got two fantastic leadership coaches that take us on our journey as well. On the left, we've got Kim Walker, and Kim looks after the East, so it's both the Northeast and Southeast. And we've got Stuart Struthers, and he looks after the Highlands and Islands and the Southwest groups. So I'm now going to hand over to Siobhan, who's going to tell you a bit more about the programme.
So what's it all about? Well, the objectives of the programme are to give you a clearer focus on your business. And it's also designed to give you a desire to make change. And people do leave with a real, not just a desire, but a passion to make change to their businesses as well. And working with all the other people in your group and meeting all the people in the wider alumni, it does give you inspiration because you hear other folks' stories and it makes you think about your own business, and it has inspired people to make changes. The networking part of it is a big part of it, and you'll hear lots of folk who've been through the programme talk about that they have really benefited from just being able to talk to anyone else. So Bobby McKenzie, who was on a few years ago, said he would have no hesitation in phoning up anyone who'd been on the programme, even if he didn't know them. He just thought it was because you'd been on Rural Leadership Programme, you could just phone up and ask advice and get it. So there's this real camaraderie, I guess. And working with the coaches and working with the other people in your group, that peer support, I suppose, it gives you confidence, and the coaches work with you on all of your strengths, and they work with you on influence techniques. So at the end of it, you do get a big boost in your confidence, just knowing what your own strengths are. So the objectives are that you leave understanding yourself and that you then have the confidence to act upon your ambitions. And Scottish Enterprise developed the programme really with the thought that businesses need strong leadership. I mean, there's always change, there always will be change. Maybe feels like there's a lot of change on at the moment. But this programme is designed to help you cope better with change and to take advantage of any opportunities that come through change. And the other thing that I'm sure many of you might find is that in rural businesses, you're often working alone and you're making decisions on your own. It's really hard. So this programme shows you how to take more of a collaborative approach and how to work with others that are in your team and in the wider rural network to make decisions. So at the end of it, you leave with tools, confidence, and a bit of perspective and time to stand back and look afresh at your business and take alternative views. So we've got a short 3-minute video here. Scottish Enterprise interviewed a few folk who'd been through the programme, and I think it's quite good if you can just hear their story.
You look back on your life and you do all these little bits and pieces, and you don't realise at the time what they're going to add up to. But once you get there and you look back and you realise that there were all steps on the journey to where you've been, and the Rural Leaders programme is one of the biggest steps, definitely.
Yeah, Rural Leadership Programme unlocked my potential in me. You know, I thought everything I was doing in the business was good and it was the key to success, but actually I realised that I was stopping the growth of the business. And actually when I allowed my colleagues to be empowered, they enjoyed work more, and in turn the whole business grew.
From previously being a farm that was struggling to support one household, we've now got approximately 25 full-time equivalent employees or people running their own businesses here.
You've got to set an audacious goal when you do the Rural Leadership Programme. We've actually managed to deliver on most of the things that I set out to do. So it's obviously given us the confidence and the real skill set to kind of progress.
It's amazing how you do start to share issues and share knowledge. That doesn't stop when the course finishes. You really come together as a group.
They say that if you feel like you're too busy to go on the programme, then you're the sort of person that should be on the programme. And both of us felt it was hard to justify the time away with small children and a busy practice with lots going on, but it was definitely well worth the time out.
I think it's hugely important to get out of your business, go and learn something else to help it, and let it be a catalyst to whatever you're trying to do.
The Rural Leadership Programme is the key that you need to unlock your potential. It has been life-changing.
Well, I'm sure there'd be loads of people who've been through the programme who would echo some of those messages there. And the too busy is something that we hear quite often, but this is perfect if you're too busy, because it shows you ways that you can be less busy and still achieve more. And I think that life-changing seems like quite a bold statement to make, but as Kate said, it was something that she looked back on, and it was a step on the way. And lots of people who've been through the programme have said that it has been life-changing. So it's maybe not quite as bold as it sounds. So I hope that's persuaded you a little bit, seeing other people that have been on it. And if you speak to others that have been on the programme as well, I'm sure they'll definitely encourage you to join. So I'll go through some of the practicalities of the programme and what's involved. So it's one-to-one coaching sessions are part of it with the leadership coaches, Stuart and Kim. There are workshops, which will be, some of them will be virtual, some of them will be face-to-face. You'll be working in a team on an innovation project, which is always good fun and entertaining. You'll also be working right from the start. You'll be looking at your own goals and your aims for your business and what do you want to get out of life. And you'll be working on that throughout the whole programme. And there's also a forum where you can join up with not just this year's folk that are on the programme, but all the previous years as well. It's going to be blended this year. For the first time last year, we did all online, but we found that actually some of the parts of it worked really well online, better maybe than some of the face-to-face sessions. So this year we're going to do a bit of a combination. So some face-to-face, some online. So there are 4.5 days taken up with the face-to-face sessions and 25 hours of virtual workshops. It sounds a lot, but they're really engaging, they pass really quickly. And you'll have one-to-one coaching sessions, which will be virtual as well. And they're about 1.5 hours each, and people get a lot out of those. The way it works is that you're in a regional group, especially to begin with, so you get to know the other 9 folk in your group very well. It runs over 6 months, starts in October, finishes in March, and the key thing to remember is that applications have to be in by the 23rd of August, so just over a month till applications have to be in. The way it works is that you start off with your one-to-one meeting, you go on to have a coaching session, then we've got a few online sessions, and then next year you come back and meet up again for the political sessions and for working on your team project, and then it ends with a finale. So the whole journey is all planned out, and each bit adds on to the one before. So face-to-face and online, 11 workshops in total, 2 hours each, and then your 2 coaching sessions, and you're all in groups of 10 to begin with until later on in the year when you meet up with everybody else. So at the first workshop, which is all about the start of your leadership journey, at the first workshop, you'll get to know everybody. It'll be face-to-face. It's 2 days with an overnight stay, so you can take time away from your business, and it gives you a chance to think, but it also gives you a chance to meet everybody else and in the evening in a more informal setting as well. So you've got a really good chance to meet the rest of the team before you go on to see them on Zoom. And the coaches are there with you on day one from the very start, and they'll be working with you on self-awareness and how do you work in a team. So the first session is very much all about you and the way you work.
The first workshop's really important, but it has 2 primary purposes. One, which is for you to get to know each other and start to understand how we will work together throughout the programme. There's a lot of trust built in that first workshop. And of course, some of that's in the formal environment, some of that's over dinner in the bar in the evening. The second part of the workshop, and possibly most important part of the workshop, is just understanding yourself more. So before you even come along to the programme, we'll be inviting you each to complete a psychometric profile. It's nothing to be scared about. It's a survey that takes about 15 minutes to complete. It's called Insights Discovery Profile, and you get your own profile to review in advance of the workshop. When we come along to this first 2-day workshop, it's really giving you the opportunity and space to learn more about yourself. So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And really understand the impact that you're currently having on your business. And of course, we do that in a very fun way. So before we get into the rest of the programme, can I just ask you, could you just tell me who amongst you are leaders? And can you pop your hand up, please, if you consider yourself to be a leader? I can't see everybody all at once, so if you could just keep your hands up for a second, just so I can have a quick look. All right, interesting, isn't it? Because there are some people whose hands went straight up. There are some people who were sitting on their hands just in case they've popped up by mistake, and there were some of you not sure. And as Kirsten said earlier, the relationship, our leadership role is really important in terms of the success of our business, because every day we are making decisions about our business. So the more consciously we lead, the more likely our business will be successful as a result of that. And I think that really underpins the leadership experience. So it's described as leadership focus here on this slide, and you will see that there are two elements of it. So the introduction day, or 2 days, allows you to get a baseline understanding of your leadership. And then we translate that through these focus sessions in 2 different ways. And it's all thinking about your business and your business in the context of the environment that we're currently in. What are your challenges? What are your opportunities? And you would hear in the video that someone mentioned about audacious goals. It's your opportunity to sit back and think, what are your goals? What are your ambitions for your business, for yourself, and for the people who are in the business? So it's all about your business, the first element of the leadership focus. Unique to the Rural Leadership Programme, or I believe it to be unique, is we offer every participant 2 confidential coaching sessions. And those are 1.5-hour sessions each, with either myself or Stuart, depending on which group you're in. And these are used entirely for your agenda. And very often people will come along and talk about their goals, or talk about relationships in their business, some challenges, some ideas, some opportunities. It's your agenda. Interestingly, the feedback that we've had around these is that it's been rare for people to have the opportunity of that confidential discussion. So we get lots of really positive feedback around the coaching sessions. The second leadership focus is to help you think about your own leadership and build upon your starting point, the solid foundations that you already have. And I'm hoping for those of you that didn't put your hand up to my question, I'm hoping to convince you that we are all leaders. And actually, whatever our starting point is, and we all have a different starting point, that you have the opportunity to build your leadership in a way that will respond to the challenges and opportunities you identified in Leadership Focus 1. And also will help you realise the goals that you've set yourself and the ambitions that you've set for yourself. So moving on from that, it's useful to think about the leadership experience. And as you see here, it's very participative. So you will notice that people are working together at the tables. You will notice that there are some post-it notes in the background. We at the Advanced Consultancy have an underpinning philosophy, which is, if we're not enjoying ourselves, we're not learning. And therefore we do lots of exercises. There is opportunity to have fun together in a way that just encourages you to shift your perspective and think about your business in a very different way. So it's very involving and it's very inclusive for every participant who attends. It's interesting, a couple of weeks ago I was in Highland, Perthshire, and I actually bumped into a former participant while I was out walking my dog, and we just got chatting about the Rural Leadership Programme, particularly in the context of COVID. And he was describing to me what he took away from the programme. And he already had a very successful business, but what he described is that having a greater understanding of his strengths, that allowed him to use his strengths much more impactfully in terms of how he built upon his business successes. But probably more than that, it allowed him to acknowledge his weaknesses and think about how did he partner with other people inside and outside of his business to overcome those weaknesses in a way that supported him being successful. And of course, he described success in a way that was right for him. But it also gave him focus. And actually he described that before he came into the programme, one of the things he really challenged with was having a work-life balance. In fact, he said that work had taken over his life. But by thinking about the different roles he played, what he was able to do was really consider, where did he focus on? and how did he give energy to the roles that he played? How did he create some space and time for himself, but also for his family? And he did that in a way that was around resilience. How did he manage his energy to make sure that he was able to play that leadership role? So we really focus on us as leaders and the impact it has within our business. But more than that, and linking to the next part of the programme, it's useful to think about the sorts of conversations we have, because none of us are an island. We rely on our team members, if you have some, we rely on our suppliers, our customers, whomever it might be. And sometimes we want to strengthen those relationships because we want to influence the other person. And we start doing that as part of the leadership element of the programme. And we come back to that later on in the programme again. So those are the outcomes. That's what you can expect of the programme. I mentioned that before you come along, we'll be asking you to complete Insights Discovery Profile. And without exception, I think I've been running the programme as a leadership coach now probably for 4 or 5 years. If I'm honest, I've lost track whether it be 4 or 5 years, but we've been running it for that period of time. And consistently, we get feedback about the value of this profile. So I just thought it would be useful just to give you a little bit of context about it in this information evening. So as I mentioned earlier, the survey takes about 15-20 minutes to complete, not difficult. The outcome is a 22-page report, and you have that as confidential to you. And what it describes is 4 different personality types. So the principle behind it is that we all have each 4, but we tend to have one which is dominant. So if you look at the bullseye here, you will see the 4 different colour energies. They're described as fiery red, sunshine yellow, earth green, or cool blue. So if your profile describes you as leading with fiery red, that in itself describes your personality type. It describes your strength and also helps you think about your weaknesses. It helps you think about how you communicate. So fiery red is a very directive, very authoritative style of leadership. And as I go through it, some of you might already be recognising yourself in that description. The second style is sunshine yellow. And sunshine yellow is, as the labelling describes, is inspiring. Great leadership qualities because tends to be very descriptive in terms of their communication. So very involving, very inclusive. It's quite a people-orientated style. The third type is the most people-orientated style. It's described as earth green. And those of us who are earth green just exude trust in other people, which brings great strength. So we're great collaborators. We create lots of harmony. The flip side of that is that we really resist upsetting people, and therefore we sometimes, or more often than not, will resist having those more challenging conversations. The final category is described as leading with cool blue energy. And if you are fortunate to be cool blue, then you are the best decision makers because you like to get into the detail. Very much about good process, very much about getting things right. The flip side of that is that you tend to be a little bit slower in terms of making those decisions. So each of the 4 colour energies bring great strengths. Each of the 4 colour energies have some weaknesses, and the profile just helps you think about those, helps you understand more about those, but most specifically helps you think about the impact that they have in terms of your leadership role.
Moving on, good to see you all. Moving on to, I'm now into the post-Christmas sessions, which are a wee bit different. So we're now looking at communicating and influencing. So obviously communication is the key to pretty much everything, and getting your message across, whether that's to stakeholders or even people within your business, or the wider the marketplace, the wider people, or even bank managers and people that you need to influence to get to make things happen. So we look at how to how do we tell your business story? How do we get that? How do we really sell what you do, what you are, and what you're all about? How do we do that? And we look at that both in a one-to-one context, but also we do a bit on social media and on online platforms as well to really market you. And it's all about clarity of telling that story. So an interesting session there, that'll be virtual. And then moving on to the influencing and political engagement session. This is always a highlight of the programme, is a trip to Holyrood. Obviously, subject to COVID restrictions, but looking really positive that we can go to Holyrood and be hosted there by an MSP, or meet your MSPs, and really get a chance to see how the whole political environment works and how close you are actually to the people who are making key decisions. And then also, how do we lobby them? How do we actually influence them to make a difference that's going to have a positive impact on you? So definitely a really good positive session. And hopefully that'll be the first time that the 4 groups all come together. So the 4 groups of 10 nationally will all come together. So you'll be networking within the big group of rural leaders, which is always a really good melting pot of ideas and people. The innovation project is my favourite part of the programme. We used to do it over 2 days. This year, because it was virtual, or last year because it was virtual, we did it over 2 weeks, and it worked really, really well. And we got some really good business ideas. So that the idea is that you go away, you're split into groups, and you have to come up with a strong business case. You have to come up with a new business idea and basically sell it to a panel of judges. We don't tie you down to any particular area. You can do it as long as it's a business that has a positive impact on the rural economy or on rural communities. We're good to go. So basically with that, you'll have a couple of weeks to come up with a business idea, and then you'll present a video business plan. So a video presentation of what your business is all about. And that was really great to see how much work people had put into it this year. And there was 8 outstanding business ideas this year. The difference, because we're blended this year, is that actually the second day of the Edinburgh trip, we are going to have the innovation project judging, and the winner will be announced at that stage as well. So that'll be a really good second day, pretty engaging and really good to see these ideas coming together. The panel of judges is made up of 2 high-end Scottish Enterprise employees. They're actually, to be fair, this year they're both contractors now. They've retired and come back, but really good people, and who, in a friendly way, really interrogate your business and make sure it's the winning one is the best one. We also bring back a past participant for that as well, just to bring a slightly different angle to it as well. So yeah, it possibly sounds a bit intimidating, but it's great fun and really something that everybody gets torn into. So yes, a highlight. This year, first time we've had Global Connections. This is organised by Scottish Enterprise. Obviously the world's a pretty small place now, and there's a lot of good speakers and really exciting things happening around the world. So this Global Connections will be a virtual format, and it'll bring speakers from all around the world. They might be rural leaders from elsewhere, entrepreneurs, or just interesting people. So it'll be a really good session, really just to stimulate some ideas and get some discussion going. So really looking forward to that one. And then the Rural Anchor event is, so when we get to the end of this, you've been through a lot. It's 6 months. It goes past really quick, but 6 months, it's a bit of work. You've been through quite a lot with these people, and you've created a really good friend group and a network of people across the country. And to acknowledge that, it would be wrong just to stop, hang up a Zoom call and have that cold feeling you get at the end of every webinar. So in this case, we have a graduation ceremony, effectively, which is the Rural Anchor event, and it really just puts it's the final event. It just tidies things up and acknowledges what you've all achieved and what you've been through. And Scottish Enterprise again brings some really good speakers to that, and it's always a really, really interesting thing. And again, as it's a face-to-face one, it's another really good networking opportunity with both your own peers from this year's rural leadership, but there's also quite a lot of past rural leaders will come there as well, and you've a really good chance to meet up and discuss things with them. The alumni is really important, so that we're talking about the programme, what the programme actually is, but it lives on after, after your graduation ceremony. You then become a rural leader, and you're a part of the alumni. This year, really quite exciting. We will be over 700 past rural leaders, which is really quite exciting. And that group now is well regarded and quite often used when it comes to policy decision making, government advice. They're quite often called on, or a select few from that group will be called on for things like that. There's a range of networking events. The Highland Show is a big one, and then various meetings, workshops and things throughout the year. And then for some, there's an opportunity for a bit more global travel as well. There's been people away to Holland and Memphis, and there will be, hopefully, be other opportunities going forward as well. So it lives on. It doesn't just stop next March. It lives on, and there's great opportunities to go on from there. And then we also have the Rural Anchor, which is basically a social media platform for rural leaders, a closed group, which is working pretty well and is a great, again, a melting pot of ideas and exciting people. So what to do? Application and selection. The important thing to do is you've got to apply. If you really want to do it, you have to put an application in. The deadline, as Siobhan said, is the 23rd of August, but that's not to say start it on the 22nd of August. It's one of those things, I would treat it like a job application and a job that you really want. So take time. There's quite a few questions in it. It's nothing to worry about, but certainly the fuller your answers are, the better you present yourself to the funders who make the decision. So yeah, put a bit of effort into it, and don't be scared to ask a few questions. We're all here to help, so don't be scared to pick up the phone or drop us an email and ask if you're needing advice. So the selection process itself, you'll submit your application, and then you'll receive a call from Scottish Enterprise for a bit of a phone interview. Just again, nothing to worry about. Just to put a bit of meat on the bones and have a bit more discussion about who you are, what you do, and why you want to do this. And then the final decision, this is, I suppose, us putting our excuses in early, the final decision is made by Scottish Enterprise, Highlands and Islands and South of Scotland Enterprise. So we're not involved in that, but as I say, we're very happy to help you with the application process itself. And then for an October start, you'll be informed that you're successful by mid-September. So really, it's not long actually. It'll be around before we know it. So really, we'll send out an email just after this that will have a pack of stuff. It'll have a Word document, which is a Word version of the application form. The application is done online, but the Word document gives you something to work on. You'll get the slides and our contact details as well. So you'll get that. That's important. I think we would all acknowledge that we're happy to discuss this, and if you need a hand, let us know. Costs and requirements. The cost is £630 plus VAT. It's cheaper than it used to be because it's a blended format. The one thing I would say is I've never heard anyone, I've done this for quite a lot of years, no one has complained about the price. It's really, really good value for money. And in many cases, people will say it's the best money they've ever spent. So it's £630, but it's really pretty insignificant. It's heavily subsidised, and certainly, as I say, it's never been flagged up as a problem. The one thing you will need, obviously, it's a blended programme, so there's going to be a reliance on Zoom. You will need a reasonably good internet connection. The fact that you're on here today would suggest that your internet connection is pretty good, so that's fine. But again, worth double checking and worth keeping that in mind, that you're going to need a reasonable internet connection. And then we do ask for, because as Siobhan said earlier, everything links on to the next event. It's really important that you're at them all. Yes, sometimes life comes along and gets in the way, but we'll give you as well after this as a calendar of events will come out as well. And it's really good if you're going to apply, try and block these dates out in the diary, just to make sure you can commit to them all, because if you miss a part, it does have a big impact on the whole. But yeah, that's pretty much that. And yeah, that's me.
Well, thank you very much, Robert. That's just bringing us to sort of the end of our presentation part that we wanted to deliver to you guys. But just as a bit of a quick summary there, you've heard from Kirsten there about the training and that done through Advanced Consultancy. And what a great training it is. I think everybody will agree, the facilitators, that everybody's found that they've come away with something worthwhile for their business and to progress their business. And again, there was a few comments there within the video that we watched there about having that time to spare and time to do this programme. But as the video mentioned there, if you're busy just now, you're only ever going to be busier. So it's worthwhile. If that is an issue, then don't think about it too much. As I said, Duncan there mentioned that he's certainly quieter now because he's went through that leadership programme and been able to bring other people into his business to strive that and run forward. And then again, just a little bit about the peer group. You're not going through this process on your own. You're part of a wider group, so hopefully any feelings of daunting or anything like that have been addressed. But you're going through it as a group, so and it's a great peer group that you go on to develop further connections with, and it doesn't stop at the end of the enterprise programme. So that's just a very quick summary at this stage. And what we would like to do now is just open up to any questions that you've got for Siobhan, Kirsten and Robert in terms of either the practicalities of the course, or if there's anything in particular that you would like asked.